Good morning, beloved friends. We hope that this video finds you in a really beautiful place to absorb this energy and the mind wants to say technique, but it is not a technique. Bridge. Bridge is the better word, I think. I don't know about you couples out there, but the ones we've been interacting with here, it seems we've hit a plateau sexually. That there is this great horizon up ahead of us, and all that we know physically is various forms of sex and lovemaking. And it's close, it's really close. But it's not quite it, and both man and woman, with a beautiful, bittersweet sorrow, realizes this. Being a yogic person, totally happy in the body has said these postures could act as a bridge as you let go of that fully loaded conditioning placed on man and woman, that naked bodies together equals sex at some point soon. This is what we personally are tackling, this mental anguish of day counting, goal orientation, imagining that something has to happen because we're naked and we're in a close proximity to one another. Those feelings for the man that when he wakes up in the morning he has an erection, therefore that equals something. And for a woman, she fills up with Shakti, and therefore that equals something, according to the mind. And what we're doing as a couple, and what we're sharing with other couples, is these phenomena, they're still going to keep on coming. Of course they are, because it's natural. But what if we do something different with that energy? Definitely not to suppress it, but to actually open it to vaster horizons. Anyway, enough blah blah. Why don't we show you? Maybe you have something.
Yeah, this video could easily be called From Sex to Intimacy, because that's the field that we're more and more interested in these days, coming from the sex and goal-oriented connection to a place of intimacy. Intimacy for me, or for us, is not just about physical touch, but it's about creating a field around each other which we invite one another into by touch, by word, by looks, by creating an energy of connection, but at a much more intimate level than, of course being intimacy, much more intimate level than the word connection can bring, or the word that sex or even lovemaking can bring with them. They're so loaded. Intimacy doesn't look like anything particularly, it's a feeling of something, and that's what we're hoping we can generate with videos like this, trying to give the ladies the understanding that because they're naked, for example, it doesn't mean to say somewhere at the end of this beautiful tantric seeming session she has to deliver for the man, or the man at the end of this beautiful connection you've had, this intimate moment, that he has to perform in some kind of way. It's not about that at all. And you could say intimacy is starting to become a lifestyle for us. It's the information, it's the field that we wake up into and go to sleep into. every day?
I want to put a big, big, sincere, close call out to all the couples who are in this place. Please, 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 don't give up. Don't go to sleep. We are totally in this transition point with you. I understand it's so frustrating when the sexual act comes round infrequently. I know you think there's something wrong with one of you or both of you. And yet there's this great buoyant love and laughter and ease during the day. Don't give up. I have this absolute feeling, knowing that we're being asked to open to one another in new ways. And of course no one really knows what that is. There is no one who has reached this plateau and is calling back, I believe. I believe we're all going together as a wave of consciousness. And the very best thing we can do is share where we're all at with little handy offerings that said, hey, this worked for us. Maybe it can work for you guys as well. So, we're going to show something that is really deeply nourishing for the men. I'm going to say men at this point. I'm going to start off really ground zero, man and woman, knowing that you know that I mean masculine and feminine. So for the man, the woman is in a cross-legged position. And ideally, she would be naked. But for YouTube, I am so not going to do that. But there's nothing on underneath these clothes. I want you to feel the naturalness of my body. So the man comes into this position. You have your oil handy. But this oil and this touch is not really it. Ideally, the room is darkened, warm, gentle, safe, and gorgeously comfortable. He may have a little bolster under his knees. His back is warm and insulated against the cold floor. And you bring him down into this position. Our brains, man and woman, the rounded bit at the back is a very old part of the brain. It's the reptilian brain, the lizard brain. It's the prehistoric brain. And in there are the deepest, wordless responses: fight, flight, terror, ecstasy. Basically, it's the gland called the amygdala. And it is ancient responses to life. And this is what I believe all are not issues, it's deeper than that. Ingrained responses are stemming from. And this is what we want to rest. The woman inwardly is dropping down into her womb, ovaries, fallopian tubes, and all of the subtle anatomy of her sexual center. There's a little bit of Shakti there. There's a little bit of the erotic there. But what's really there, and as I look into the camera, that familiar feeling of what kind of feels like a soft menstrual cramp comes into contact with me. And that's when I know, and that's how I know you know, because you've all told me. That is how we know we're dropping into the womb space. We start to feel a little bit heavy, solid, grounded. That is where we are to remain as women. And then we are to physically, gently press that part of us to make contact with the top of his skull. And then we are to just bring very slow moving finger pads to the back of his neck as we make strokes that pull his head into the belly, making his neck longer. This, of course, is really gorgeous for the man as a tension relief movement. But what we're really heading for is that amygdala. That amygdala right in the place where the neck joins the skull. And our fingers are invisibly, wordlessly talking to that amygdala. And sort of nurturing it from a divine perspective. Not so much biological mother perspective. We're understanding one another, human to human. We're on the threshold of consciousness, and consciousness is insisting, it is insisting upon massive changes in behavior towards one another, ourselves, and all other creatures. I believe we've had our great shift in the opening of consciousness as a spiritual experience. I absolutely believe we are now opening to consciousness as a bodily response and behavior. And these updates are so gonna change sexuality, connectivity with one another and other animals, other beings. Basically, fingers crossed, we're gonna turn into a really nice race. Your womb is absorbing all of his nervous anguish of mind. Your womb reaches the great womb that birthed us all, and through you he can let go into that greater one, going into the warm black light of nothingness. His character and identity can completely disappear. asking anything of him. When you've worked for, let's just say, 20 minutes, just deeply and slowly, you could then bring in the boobs, the bosoms, whatever word. Because in this position, the breasts are going to fall either side of his temples and completely come into huge contact with his frontal lobe, which is all of the thinking. So oiling your hands, you would absolutely lean forward, dropping the breasts into the head, and with deep devotional strokes, same energy as you were with him in his head. Sometimes we are instructed through various tantras to worship the body of the other one. Sometimes that word worship doesn't really fit comfortably for me because it feels giddy. It feels like worship can be a bit girly. Although it's heading in the right direction. I much prefer the word devotion. Touch him with devotion. Realize a great soul is connected to this body. A soul that is looking to become more and more here. A soul that may not have had an easy start in life. And this is the type of things, beloved ladies, that we are coming into contact with because of this great reservoir of love that is innately in our bodies. Play around with your strokes. Sometimes they are most definitely hinting at the erotic. Sometimes they are the hands of the mother. Often it is the work of the angelic part of you. At the end of this time together, you can make a little diamond between your thumb and first finger over the Sacred Heart and leaning over his head. Speak beautiful, sincere words of blessing into his heart. Beloved Pete, may you trust this. May you meet me in a place like this. going to turn around and give to the other one. It's absolutely best not to talk. Don't talk at this point. Or, if you're deciding to give to one on one night, one on the other, you would just simply help this one get into a fetal position. Wow, cat's chasing a bird. And go to sleep together. Just literally tuck in behind him. This is a wordless experience of tremendous tenderness. You will see what I mean. And now we're going to do the piece for the ladies. Same energy. If you would just come a little bit closer to the frame. Maybe a little bit more. That's it.
For the men, for that last section on receiving, that's the only thing you're required to do. Just lie there, absorb, receive what your lady is giving to you. Nothing more than that. When it's your turn, guys, to bring intimacy to your beloved, make sure you're comfortable. You know, you can see I'm sitting cross-legged. If you need to, get a couple of pillows or cushions underneath your knees, maybe even under her back to help her. That's fine. Sit on a cushion. You're going to be here for a while. Be aware of your own back, your own spine's limitations. Don't try to reach too far too quickly. Start close to yourself and start, of course, by tuning into yourself. I'm not a yogi, I'm more like Yogi Bear. So that's my way of connecting, is earth energy, is feeling of I'm here, I feel myself on the floor, I can feel the sheepskins tickling my toes, yeah, my knees are good, I can feel my beloved's weight on my feet, continuously making sure I come back to here, where my hands are touching Anaiya, where she is resting on me, rather than going off into my mind and what's next, or what bit should I do. I'm trying, or I'm relaxing. Simply here, there is nothing wrong. This is a beautiful exploratory thing. There's no one perfect way. It's going to be very different for different couples. Great. Hello. So, as Anaiya said, ideally you would do this naked, but of course it's fine to do it clothed, no problem with that. It's more about presence than it is about how things look, or it's more important that both feel comfortable. Anyway, so I would choose to tune in to Anaiya in whatever way feels right for me, and that is one hand on over her womb and one hand over her heart, and just quietly to myself bringing in an intention to be here with and for her, nothing more than that. But that is a lot, because one of the things the ladies often miss from us guys is simply our presence. It's not about learning techniques, tantra techniques, or necessarily going on expensive training courses. They miss our presence when we're with them. After connection, of course, oils would be great if there's no clothes, and it would be wonderful to focus on the body here, starting from where feels right for you. There is no right and wrong again, and be aware of where your hands are. Feel where your hands are touching her in whatever way feels right. One thing that Anaiya certainly communicated to me is, however slow you think you're going, slow it down a bit more, so that the movements are smooth and she can feel the presence. It would be smart to start from here, gently, moving up, around the back, and over the heart. And if you can reach your shoulders, that's fine. Again, be aware this is not a sexual practice. It's not trying to turn her on. And don't be tempted to go into those places that you know that tend to turn her on. It doesn't mean avoid those places either, because as Anaiya was hinting, keep the erotic and sensual there, but it's not the driving force. So don't avoid places completely. They're an important part of her, but don't focus on those places. What's so beautiful about this position for the lady is that she can feel the close proximity to her intimate areas with mine, but it's very clearly not about her having to do anything. So hopefully over time she can let go of the expectation of a performance upon her, that she must deliver something or do something afterwards. It's very relaxed, it's very trusting, it requires trust from her as well. And it can happen because we guys are not used to being in this position either, so much naked, without having to perform in some kind of way. All kinds of emotions can show up. Don't make that wrong. If you feel tears come, that's very beautiful. Perhaps one of the most important gifts you could give her. She will feel it anyway. Allow yourself to feel what you're feeling and gift that. Very easy to move from here up her legs. Both at the same time or one at a time. And smooth movements again, in connection, touching the whole time, no rush, moving all the way back to her feet. Try not to strain your back by leaning back too much or overdoing the physical side. One very easy and beautiful way that you can gift her is by carefully taking her ankle, lifting her leg and putting her ankle on your shoulder. That means her whole leg's supported. It's not requiring any physical strength from you, it's just balanced there. And this way you can get very close to her. Very intimately, a little bit strange in a way, but very beautiful. And here's really perfect to use oils on her. Remember, with the ladies, they don't like to feel our hands moving the wrong way against their hairs, for example. So tend to move from the heart towards the toes rather than the other way. And that's very simple. It's much easier to use smaller amounts of oil. It's easier to control them. You can always use more, But too much is very definitely too much and will end up everywhere. So very easily, very lightly to start with. And very slowly. Moving the skin. It's not deep penetrative stuff as though it were a massage session. It's encouraging the muscles to move, encouraging her to relax. What you can do is keep an eye on her eyelids. If you see that her eyes are moving a lot underneath, she may be off in some dream, not that that's wrong, or off in some thoughts. By changing the technique, you can bring her back. Different things. Back of the fingernails. Holding. Bringing back. Of course, you would take far more time than this is taking. There is no rush. Make sure if you can, you've got a couple of hours uninterrupted for both of you. And take so much time feeling into where you're touching her. It's a very nice effect to place her foot, for example, against your chest. It's very connective, very beautiful. And of course, feet, beautiful. So many nerve endings in the feet, in the toes. Take your time. The last thought is that she may well have areas on her body that she's very sensitive about. If she's had children, she may well have stretch marks or cesarean scar, or maybe she's a little bit overweight, but that doesn't matter. Be aware of where her issues are. And trust your own heart. This is where it gets kind of interesting. Trust your own heart to know whether to pay them special attention in the way that you see them as loving historical markers in her life. The childbearing marks, they are gifts rather than scars. The choice is whether to focus especially on those at certain moments when it's in the flow, or whether to glide over them as though they weren't there. That's something you need to use your own awareness and intuition over. Ideally, once you've finished, for example, it would have been great to have a sarong on Anaiya here, laid out on the floor. When you've finished the actual physical part, perhaps wrap her again or in the blanket, making sure she's warm and making sure it's a clear sign that this part is over. And then similar to the way Anaiya did, making a diamond of your fingers, for example, somewhere near her heart that feels right for you. And that's good for me, balanced. And whether you believe in some higher being, or whether you're talking to your beloved, it doesn't matter. The actual energy of the prayer itself is the most important. It's an act of devotion to a higher being or to your partner. Beloved Anaiya, I am so blessed to take this journey with you. In love, in beauty, in mutual support, love and understanding. Thank you that you bring out the best in me. And I vow to support, bring out the very best of you. Amen. Once you've finished, in a similar way to as Anaiya explained, what could be really nice and wordlessly is bring her hips down flat. There we go. And then roll her over onto one side. Cover her up. And lie behind her. So she's still got the support. And ideally would be to go to sleep from there, of course.
Thank you. So, beloved friends, I suggest that you absolutely do this. We've been sharing in this way for about 18 months. It works. I can almost 99% guarantee you a glimpse and a feeling, reality of, oh my God, this is it. This is it. This is the next place that us humans are to open up into. It's very healing. It really brings you together. And its benefits just ripple out into every area of life. Children, finances, home, sacred purpose, good health. Anyway, please, do it.
Yeah, the intimacy thing. It starts off between the two of you, but it becomes an intimacy with life itself, with your children, with your pets, with the garden, with nature. Getting intimate even with this moment is perhaps one of the most important things there are. Because if you can't be intimate in the moment, how can you be intimate with someone else? Be here. Anyway, enough of Yogi Bear.